Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the ministry. And today is not one of those topics that we're going to be frou happying it up. This is serious. This is going to be a series of words that I'm going to be releasing in relation to generational curses. It's going to be uncomfortable. Some of y'all not going to like it. Some of y'all not going to appreciate it. Some of y'all going to just be mad at it. I'm sorry. But if you going to put on your big boy pants and big girl pants and understand the fact that we've been in a spiritual war, you're going to be able to listen to what I have to say. Because what wisdom I'm about to give you is wisdom not only from the word, but something that the Lord brought my attention to that gave me this word in the first place. And it's like the Lord will use the foolish things to confound the wise. So he showed me through 2 films and 4 other plot lines for films in relation to the same series how the enemy works. And I came into the understanding of these generational curses. Now I've been doing this, I've been dealing with this, I've been warring with this, but I found through this process a way to explain it to you guys that you'll be able to understand what I'm saying. Okay? And with me having the ability to explain this in a way in which you will understand, prayerfully it will give you what's necessary in order for you to be able to move forward. Some of you, this is going to give you some understanding as to what you've been battling. It's going to give you a bit of wisdom, spiritual insight, guidance. I'm a creative, so the fact that the Lord spoke to me through these films is how he speaks to me. And yeah, this is not going to be as pleasant, but it's going to be worth it if you can get through. Because we're going straight from the word of scripture, but I'm going to break it down in an understandable manner that you should be able to get it, identify it, and discern it properly. Okay? It's not something I really want to talk about, but I feel it's necessary to talk about this right now because we are in a time and a season of judgment. And I found it so funny that as I was going through the scriptures to work on this, the last scripture that I came across in relation to one of the scriptures that was brought up in the film was talking about the judgment. There is a mass judgment that is being prepared to happen, and you're going to see it. The blessing in you seeing it is you're going to see who your enemies are. There's going to be an exposure. There's going to be a takedown. But some of y'all, I hate to say it, and I've been in prayer about this myself personally, you're going to see people that you thought were endearing to you. They're going to fall down ill. They're going to fall down and die. They're going to be exposures about these people in your lives that even you will be sitting there saying, it was you? But there's also people that did you wrong. People that you thought you would never forgive that are going to come back and apologize to you. because they know that if they do not, the wrath that's going to come upon their heads from God, so you're going to have to prepare yourself and your heart to be able to maybe not let these people into the level in which you had let them in the first time, but you're going to have to prepare to at least open up to accept the apology that they're going to give you. Because these may be family members you know did you dirty. These may be friends you know did you dirty. And they're coming back to reconcile with you. Apologize. Now, you have to be able to identify the narcissist that's just gaslighting you to get back in the door. But God gives you wisdom and discernment. But some, they're going to be genuinely coming back saying, look, I am so sorry. I'm so sorry I was involved in that. I'm so sorry I was part of what was being done behind your back. I'm sorry. But some are going to be like, I'm playing. They are not genuine in any way, shape, or form. So you have to be discerning. Some are going to be genuine, some are not going to be genuine. You got to sit with the Lord and discern which ones those are. But if you have any desire to pray mercy for these people, you better start praying now, because the judgment is coming. And matter of fact, it's not coming, it's here. It's here. I said it before in a previous video. The judgment is here. I explained the situation that had occurred. That I didn't pray for that. I did not by any means pray any harm to anyone. But that person ended up getting hurt. And I know that part of that was just something that they did towards me. And a lot of Christian ministers are saying that right now. The people that did wrong by God are about to receive punishment for what they did to God's anointed ones. They are literally about to receive it. And because of that, you better pray. I stand in the gap for specific people every couple of days, because I know they do not know what they're doing, and they know not what they're coming up against. Okay, be 7 minutes and I haven't even started this word yet. So the first part, I think I'm gonna go into. Let's go into generational curses. First things is, when it comes down to generational curses, it talks about the sins of the father reflects on the children and for the next 4 generations. Some of y'all's parents did something that reflected on the last several generations, and you are the curse breaker, meaning you're that 4th generation that's meant to break the curse. What I am about to go through right now is the initiation of what probably happened to initiate the curse, and the genealogical order of the sequence of how the curse played out. And God gave this to me while watching a couple movies. Okay? God used the foolish things to confound the wise. So we're going to start with the scripture, Ephesians 6:11-12. That ye may be able to stand against the wiles of the devil, for we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, powers, against rulers of darkness in this world, and against spiritual wickedness in high places. Now, what movie was I looking at that we're going to start off with? The Fallen. And it's not The Fallen, it's called Fallen. Denzel Washington was in it. If you want to watch that movie, I suggest it. If you want to understand certain things about spiritual principalities, watch The Fallen, because they be out here moving that dirty as they did in that film. So what happens is, as we know in the word, that the devil fell like lightning. The common start of the story is that the Lord had his anointed angels. Now, Lucifer was a beautiful angel. He used to be up there with the rest of the angels. He thought that he had more position. Oh my God. I'm getting an idea for another word. I'm gonna have to sit down and work on that afterward. But he thought that he had more position than he did. He wanted that spot. He wanted God's spot. He wanted to be God's ace boom boom type partner. He wanted to be up there like that. He wanted to be God. So what did he do? He turned around and he called himself, thinking that he had enough power because of how close he was to the trajectory of the Lord, that he could tell the angels, oh, you don't got to do this. You don't. But when he did, what happened? He thought that he was going to say, oh, well, I don't agree with this, and I'm going to take half the angels with me. Was there a percentage of the angels that went with him? I think he said that it was about a third of the angels left and went with him. But when he brought his ideas to the Lord turned around and smited him to fall down like lightning back to the earth. And so were the spirits of the angels, satanic agents, that dropped with him. Okay? Now, Dr. Whitaker does a great teaching where she talks about angels, aliens, and demons. If I find it, I will link it to one of these videos, because it's going to be more than one of them. And she talks about how these fallen angels, these angels are way huge. They're like, when you think about an 8-foot tall person, but back during those time frames, think about a person that was probably like dinosaur sized. When you think about the dinosaurs in Jurassic Park, yeah, people were that size back in the different time frames. So, and we got smaller as time went on. And she gives a great teaching of the breakdown of reptilian species and all of this kind of stuff, and where the angels, the demons, and the reptiles and all of that coincide with one another. But getting back to the film, in the film it talks about a man who had went out to a cabin out in the woods, and it starts with a guy that's in jail, and he taps this police officer thinking that he's going to transfer to him. It didn't work. But what happened, what he did transfer to him was not what was thought. It was the actual experience that ended up being transferred to him. What that man went through to end up putting him in prison in the first place is what was transferred to Denzel Washington's character. What is this? When you are dealing with spiritual principalities, powers, dark forces, sometimes you can unknowingly make spiritual deals with these demons. Your family members, years past, I hear people say this all the time. I hear ministers say this. There are people that have performed witchcraft on you, on your family, on your lineage, on your bloodline. And what has happened is when they came into covenant to perform this witchcraft on your bloodline 2, 3, 4 generations back, when they didn't accomplish what was set forth to happen, these bloodline curses not only hit their family lines, but it attached to certain portions of your family line. What am I saying? Meaning certain demons were assigned to try to take parts of your family line out through certain spirits in spiritual manifestations. This is when you see what's the word I'm looking for? When you see different principalities rising up in your family. Anger, resentment, rape, molestation, perversion, alcoholism, porn, lust, all these kinds of things. Some of those are curses that were set upon your family because of something that somebody previously in previous generations did. What does this have to do with the film? In the film, the cop thinks that he's just going about his regular, but before the guy got executed that he went to see in prison, he told him a riddle, and he didn't get it. He was like, I don't know what that means. But he knew that the guy was trying to tell him something. When the guy told him that, he let it go until the first murder occurred. And there was, I don't remember whether it was a number sequence or a letter sequence. I think it was a letter sequence that was upon the first dead body's chest. And when the letter was written, there was a riddle on the wall. And the riddle on the wall was the same riddle that the guy told him before he shook his hand, before he was taken to the electric chamber. So he was trying to show him that he can pass from one to another. But he didn't get it for a while throughout the film until he saw it happen in front of him. The devil has his minions, and the spirits move in a particular way. This is why, if you ever noticed that in your family, there may be family members that are particularly agitated around you. Have you ever noticed when they're talking to you about anything specific, they say certain things that are repetitive lines you've heard before? I've noticed this. I've been able to discern, because I've been walking with God long enough, that I can literally discern when a spirit is operating through a person, because they'll say a sequence of words that's exactly the same to somebody else that has talked to me when that person was trying to derogatorily tear me down. And I'm like, that's not you, that's a spirit. Because they'll say the exact same sequence of words. Perfect example. When you have monitoring spirits, and this was depicted in that film too. There was a moment when Denzel Washington's character had went out to the cabins to find out some information, and he found the book, and he found the word, because there was something about look in the mirror on the second body. When he found that information, he found the word written on the wall. Now, when he found the word written on the wall, he went back to the precinct thinking like he was cool because he didn't say nothing to nobody, because even his boss told him, if you want to look into this, don't say anything. But what happened was, when he got into the precinct, he goes to sit down at his desk. You see the spirit move from somebody that's outside, come in, touch somebody else, come in, touch somebody else, come in, touch somebody else. It gets to the guy that's closest to Denzel's character, touches him, and that guy gets up and comes over to him and says, hey, where were you earlier today? And he's like, what? Why is that any of your business? You ever notice when there's a monitoring spirit around you, the first thing they'll be asking you is, and I see it happen, I remember there was this particular point in time where the enemy was trying to figure out what I was doing. So, and I'd already gotten a warning for this, so I was like, really? Because I got ministers that minister to me at all times, and they usually give me a heads up. And my dad got on the phone with a family member, and that family member got on the phone with me, and the first thing that they said out of their mouth, hey, what you doing? What you up to? What are you working on? That's exactly the way that that guy came at him in that film. It's like, where'd you go? What were you doing when you were over there? It's like, why you want to know? And then later that afternoon, I'm sitting there like, hold up. Because a friend of mine I hadn't talked to, who lived here in the city, called me. And she said, word for word, the exact same thing. Where you at? What you doing? I'm like, I'm working on my this. I told you about the other thing I was working on. What are you doing? What's your point? She said, oh, I just wanted to know what you were up to. What you working on? And then she kept repeating, what you working on? What you doing? Did you do this? Are you doing this? And I'm thinking like, then she got a phone call, and I started praying in the spirit like crazy. I was like, oh, no, you didn't. I said, if this is a spiritual attack, because this happened twice to me today, Lord, XYZ. And I started rolling off all these scriptures to come against it. And you know that girl ain't called me back. She said, I'm going to call you back in about 5 minutes. She ain't called me back. She did not call me back. And then I started praying into the fact of anybody that came into contact with anybody associated with me. And the enemy got mad, because about 3 days later, he came at me through somebody called somebody that I was around. And that person attacked me. That person spoke into the person that was near me's ear. And the person that was near me started to attack me. Oh, he viciously attacked me for a good 2 hours. I was like, and I prayed against it. But it had already tapped in. So when it was already tapped in, I was like, I couldn't really do nothing about it but sit there and let the person talk, because it's see, the thing about it is, the hardest thing for us as Christians is when we're under warfare. We know the warfare we're under. Everything in our spirit wants to come against the spirits in which we see in the other person. But I was listening to a minister the other day, and he was talking about when it comes down to deliverance, you can face the demon, but if you don't have the strength nor the assistance to help you in the process of helping deliver that person, you shouldn't even say anything to them. You got to sit there. You got to sit in it. Because if they're not ready to be delivered and you don't have the strength, and these types of demons, when they come into a person, they're strong. So if you try to deliver the person that is attacking you from the doors that they have open, and you can identify them, I can call out. I can call out. I did that once. One of these people had come at me so hard one time, and I was pissed off that day. They were getting on my last nerve. And when I tell you I confronted the demon in them, They barked at me and came up on me so fast. When I tell you they came up on me so fast, because they were using a provocatory spirit, meaning they wanted to get loud and they wanted to get ornery. And then when I clapped my hands because something they had said to me triggered me to be like, look, we not doing this. I'm trying to figure out how much time I got. Okay, we not doing this. When I said that, that's when the fight started. Because, see, as a child of God, when you are discerning, sometimes it can make you so angry you won't cuss. Let's just be real out here. It can make you so angry you won't cuss when you see the spirits in these people and you want to call them out for all they are. And the Lord's saying, back up, back down. I'm going to take care of that. And you be looking at God like, when? Because I'm dealing with this right now. When would you like to take care of this? And God's like, I know you're angry. I know. Sit still. I'm going to take care of it. It's like I'm a Lion of Judah in here. I'm all lion in this little body. I be wanting to. I swear in my next season, and I'm Christian, but I'm not supposed to, I'm going to get into kick somebody's kickboxing karate class. Sis over here. Not that I'm trying to physically fight anybody, but sometimes you need to get in that gym and you need to wear out a punching bag. It's like you started with me. I need to go to the gym and whip some behind on that punching bag. Be happy I'm not whipping you. When these spirits be doing that, you be wanting to, but you can't. Because that's what the thing is. The enemy wants to provoke you. It's a provoking spirit. Provocatory. Not provocative. Provocatory. It's trying to provoke you into a fight. Where we at? I only got a few minutes here. I got about 4 minutes. I'm going to see how much I can get through. And as soon as the spirit releases that person in that moment, because they were only there to monitor you and get information, just like that guy did when he came up to him. And then what happened is, after he asked him the question, the spirit in him let him know that he was jumping. How did he let him know? He started singing the song that the criminal was singing in the prison. And then he tapped somebody, and the next person started singing. Then he tapped somebody, and the next person started singing. And it would look at him before it walked away. And that's how he knew. So he started following each person. But the person had already passed the spirit on. And they're like, what you talking about? I don't know what are you talking about? So they don't know that they're doing what they're doing. You got family members that attack you, and then 5 minutes later, or what have you, you know how many times I had to pray over people that were attacking me? And when I prayed over them, meaning I'm sitting there praying in tongues. They attacking me, and I'm sitting there like, I'm praying in tongues, and they're attacking me. But a second that they realized that what they did didn't work, whatever I prayed kicks in. They sit down. They stop talking. Go sleep. Whatever it is. Because whatever was attacking their spirit, released them. So he followed the person outside, and then he realized he was tapping this person, and he was tapping that person. And then the person came to him and started talking. And then the next person would come and start talking. And as it tapped the people that are walking by, because he was standing in the middle of a sidewalk, people were passing him. And what the demon was doing was tapping each individual person. And they were speaking to him. They would turn and speak. They'd turn and say something. And see, this is what happens when the enemy realizes that you know what he's doing. He then starts to move crazy. But in the film, what it was I believe it was 500 cubits. If something happens, for instance, a death, because what ended up happening in the film is he saw the spirit move, and he actually missed it at one point because his nephew, he came home, his nephew had the spirit in him. He smiled at him, but he thought it was just his nephew smiling. He didn't think that the spirit was there. And he walked in the house. When he went in the house, he saw his brother's son or something like that. And he was trying to hide something from it. And he was like, what's going on? Because he was like touching his face. And he was like, what's going on? And he's like, he came in the house looking for something. And he touched he's like, what's going on with you? And he started telling him, oh, my son slapped me in the face. He's like, your 10-year-old son slapped you in the face. And he looked at his face and he's like, wait a minute. And the son was coming in the door and he's like, what's wrong? What's wrong? Because he grabbed him and he was like, and he was about to get on him, but what ended up happening was he realized that the spirit wasn't in the boy anymore. So he ran outside, and when he ran outside, he saw the boy's friend, and the boy's friend was just sitting up on top of the car. He's like, oh. And the thing that he was looking for was in the boy's hand. He's like, you want to really do this? Because the boy was coming at you really want to do this? And he's like, yeah, let's do this. So he goes and takes off running, and then he jumps into a guy who has a gun in his car. And the guy that had a gun in his car, I don't know why this guy was carrying blanks in his car. But I'm telling you the whole movie. We're going to come back to this, but he ends up shooting the guy. And that's the point. The enemy wants to set you up. And I'm going to get deeper into this in our next part. Pause. Be coming back.